so we are thankful. He was a connection that Pastor Phil was able to connect us with. And so we are thankful that he is here to share with us tonight on some church marketing tips. So I'm going to turn it over to him. And thank you. Thank you so much. Go ahead.
Thank you, Pastor Spencer. Yes, Will Kilgore from the Bay Area. Here right now in Seattle doing some video production too for a client here in the Seattle area, Tacoma area actually. Tacoma, man, I think they're getting ready to make me get on Zillow in a minute. It's feeling like the South. So yes. Originally from, just a little bit about myself, originally from Georgia. So I'm a Southern boy, not originally from California, but moved there going into our, fifth year. My wife took a position as associate pastor of missions and outreach. Her name is Danny Kilgore of a church called Marin Covenant Church. They're in the Bay Area, San Rafael to be exact. And so she serves them both locally and globally. And then I serve a lot of faith-based organizations, churches, small business owners, as well as I do a lot in the political sector, and then the educational sector as well. But the majority of my business is in the faith-based community. So a lot of conferences. Pastor Phil is actually one of my clients and what I call family members. And On Ramps Church, he and his better half, Pastor Reese Sky, I know he would agree with me with the better half. Like I tell people, my wife is the better half and I'm the bigger half. And so, his better half, we do a lot of things together, and we do a lot of different graphics and things like that. And so, yeah, so I'm excited to be here. So I want to just start off real quick. Thank you, Pastor Parks, for praying us in. Just let everybody kind of just introduce themselves. And then before we get into that, listen, I want to just stop and pause, and I just got word. And let's celebrate Pastor Spencer. He celebrated today. His church celebrated him. So we want to just celebrate you, sir, and honor you for your time well spent at your church, and just for your servitude and what you mean to the body of Christ. So we appreciate you, sir, and keep moving on. So yeah, so if everybody would do me a favor, and I'd love to kind of have everybody introduce themselves, and then we'll go from there. So I'm gonna start with Pastor Parks.
Jim Parks, I pastor West Fresno Christian Center.
Okay. Where's that located?
2210 South Thorn in West Fresno.
All right, sir. All right, Fresno.
About a mile from where Phil graduated from high school.
Oh, okay. There it is. Okay. All right, Pastor Phil.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Phil Sky, pastor On Ramps Covenant Church in downtown Fresno with my wife, Reese. Really glad to be with all of you tonight, and thank you, Will. Looking forward to the content tonight.
Yes, sir. Pastor Joe.
My name is Joe, and I'm one of the pastors at The Well. I do the Spanish ministry at our Fig Garden campus. Been on staff for 7 years.
All right, awesome. And last but not least, Pastor Jason.
It's Pastor Jason, Image Church. I've been pastoring 5 years. Pastor Phil, March 17th. Was 5 years. So yeah, in West Fresno too. And let me tell you this. I know you're friends with Pastor Phil Sky. If you golf, don't let him hustle you. I just want you to.
Okay. Let me tell Alexa. Remind me. Don't let Pastor Phil hustle. You noted. And she got that down. Okay. I will make sure, because I literally was just going to start going into golf. I'm a bowler, but I'm going to start going into golf. So
He will hustle.
Okay, I will know. And I'll make sure that I know what I'm doing when I go out there with him. So that's
well, and listen, I'm gonna say, if you play golf with Pastor Jason, keep both of your eyes open and on him at all times.
Okay, on him. I got you.
Yeah, he
Pastor Jason.
Yes. You take your eyes off him, and your golf clubs will start disappearing. Your ball will end up in the water, and you'll be like, I don't know what happened.
Oh shucks. Okay, I gotta watch him. So that means Pastor Jason is prolific, he is prophetic, but he is also petty. So I got you. I'm with you. I'm following. Cool. Well, listen, briefly, we're gonna go to about 6:50. And I'm gonna stop at each section. And so that we'll save about 10 minutes for Q&A. Then we'll have a little Q&A in between since it's just us. We'll have a little Q&A in between. We are recording this, so if you need to go back and look at it, then you'll be able to have this resource. So we'll go over things like church signage. On the graphic, it says building maintenance, but I'm going to go over how a visitor, the flow of how a visitor becomes a member. I'm going to go over that. I'm going to go over a little bit about social media, a little tidbit about social media. I'm going to go over some branding. And then we're going to talk about, this says Google search engine, but we're going to talk a little bit about SEO, which is what you put in, which is what makes things come up in the search engine, and that's called search engine optimization. So right now, if you go into Google and you put O, Oprah will probably come up. Or if you put B, Beyonce probably will come up, that type of thing. So TD Jakes will probably come up. Jones, California, Noel Jones will probably come up, this type of thing. I know that's your pastor, Jason, Pastor Spencer. So let's get into,
There are a couple who get a chance to introduce themselves.
Oh, is it a few more people on here? Okay. I see. Okay. Okay. They don't have the cameras on. I got you. Let's see. Or maybe I missed them. So Pastor Deborah, I'm sorry. Forgive me, ma'am. We love to hear from you.
You're not on. Deborah Spencer. I'm with Pastor Jason Spencer at
Okay.
Image Church, executive administrator.
All right. Great to meet you. Did I miss somebody else? Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Melissa. I'm with Image Church, Melissa Perry.
Great to meet you, Melissa. Awesome. Okay.
Excuse me.
Well-
This is Pastor Ken Blackwood. I'm having a little trouble with my video, so I don't know if you can hear me or not.
We can. Yes, sir.
Okay, I just want to introduce myself and pastor at Fresno Community Church, and that's at 420 Fresno Street.
All right.
Yeah, west side, of course.
Sounds good. Great to meet you, sir. Thanks for
Thank you.
joining us.
Thank you.
Awesome. So what I would do is, once I go over each section, if you all want to just kind of put your questions in the parking lot, or if you want to add them to the chat so that you don't forget, then we will address them after each section. And so I want to make sure that, like Pastor Spencer said, I honor your time. So I will try my best to operate within the principle of the 3 B's. Be good, be brief, and be gone. So I'm going to honor that principle tonight. And I will tell you, like Elizabeth Taylor told all her husbands, I'm not going to hold you long. All right. So church signage, let's go over that. So church signage has a lot of context in it. If we kind of date back, let's just go back 20 years. Let's just go back 20 years. That would be 2003, is that right?
Mhm.
And so if we go back to about 2003, you still had the marquee outside with the letters on it in 2003. Can you believe that? Some churches still have the letters. Some churches still have it today with the marquee on it. Can I tell you what the new church signage is now? The new church signage, it changes. A lot of people are doing LED screens, but I'm gonna be very honest with you. Some people may not like this. If your LED screen, if you have an LED screen outside and it doesn't match what your building looks like on the inside, get rid of it. Because you have spent too much money on that to get them in, but not enough to keep them there. And so you have this big LED screen, and then especially if you don't know what to do with it. It looks impressive. It looks great, but if you don't know what to do with it, if you're not privy to how to work your church signage, you'll do better doing a great banner that looks excellent, that has the who, what, when, where on it. your church name, which should not be long. Your church name should probably be about 2 or 3 syllables. It should not be on the side of the road, Baptist church on the hill in front of the Popeye's Chicken, Covenant, Baptist, Presbyterian, Lutheran, Church International, meant bring it in. If you think about the brands that we all use, the one we're on right now, Zoom, 1 syllable. Amazon, 3 syllables. Coca-Cola, few syllables. McDonald's, these are billion-dollar companies. Here's one, it's not a business. Jesus Christ, 2 syllables. We have more syllables than Jesus in our church names. So let's bring those things in, and don't be so, try not to be so bent on, oh, this has been the church name for 50 years. I get the history. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget the history, but things have to change. Sometimes things have to shift. Jesus doesn't have to change, but sometimes things have to shift. And so we have to be willing to change and shift different things. And so I want you to really be sensitive to that, is how am I going to get somebody to the front door? Here's another thing about church signage. The best way to determine if your sign looks good is, can people see it at night? Not during the day. Can they see my sign at night? And so if you have a banner, of course you want to put it on both sides. If you have just like a banner that's there, is there proper lighting that's going to support that? Is it lit right? Is it in the right places? Do they know my church name? Maybe a contact? Maybe my website if I have one, and my social media info, and my service times. Those are probably the 5 things you want to be able to have on that church signage. Your church name, website, service times, social media info, and some type of contact info. Because here's why I would not necessarily, you can put the address, but maybe not on the signage, maybe somewhere below, somewhere. Because once they get to your website, they'll know the address. They'll know where the address is. But if you put it somewhere below, that's kind of, under or over the signage, that's kind of there on a another piece of signage or a board or something like that, that can be there. So anybody got am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Any questions or thoughts come to mind? I see Pastor Joe got something on his mind, looks like. No? Okay. Anybody?
Do you have an example, a picture example of what you're talking about?
I'll send a few things after this. I'll get everything to Pastor Spencer, and I'll put a few things together so that you all have some examples. Yes, sir.
Thank you, bro.
I think too, I was thinking about like how to not make it cluttered.
So yeah, exactly. And that's why we want to kind of stick with those 5 pieces so that it's not cluttered, because everybody wants to put their title scripture on there and all that stuff. It's like no. McDonald's, listen, let's just take a brand. What's on their sign? McDonald's.
The name.
That's it. That's all that's on there. They let the menu do the work. And you might have, 2 for 2 or this for this. That's it. Like, that is it. You don't have, so a lot of times people think, when they think about their signage, a lot of people think internally when they should really be thinking externally. Think about the person that has not grown up in church. They don't know scripture, but they will go follow you on social media. They will go look up your church on social media. They might go to your website. And when they go to your website, they're probably going to judge you. So let me just kind of preface this. I might say some stuff tonight that's going to offend you. And if it does, then we can address it. But yeah, I'm here for that. So I'm gonna say some stuff that might sting. And if it stings, that means we need to address it. But we're here to grow, right?
Amen.
Yes, so to
Yes.
Pastor Jason Spencer's points, you don't want to clutter it. I'm gonna go over that again. Church name, which should not be long. And if it is long, let's address that. Social media information. And I'm gonna go over the social media things in that section about names and how to bring that stuff down and make it uniform. Your website, if you have one. Okay, here I come, Pastor Spencer. Your service times. Okay, Pastor Spencer. Yes, sir. You had a question?
I do, man.
Okay.
I think when you talk about church name, our church name is Image Church, but I feel like
That's
our
good.
website is weareimagechurch.org. I feel like that's too long.
Why not imagechurch.org?
It wasn't available, most likely. Most likely that
I
would,
think
that's,
We Are Image Church is okay. We Are Image Church. It's just that people may not, they're probably only going to Google Image Church, Fresno, and then that'll come up. We Are Image Church that's a contemporary domain name. It's a contemporary. A lot of people are doing that. We are this church. We are that. But also make sure your person is always checking out. Oh, it's Image Church. Is that available? Always check GoDaddy. Make sure that's available, because you might get blessed one day and it pops up, be available. Grab it, but don't delete We Are Image Church. Just direct that to the same domain. So yes, that's good. Okay, let me ask this. How many people, by show of hands, have signage out right now? Okay. All right, everybody has, okay, people have signage out that you're happy with. Uh-oh. Okay, Pastor Joe is the only one that's happy. Okay. All right. Pastor Parks, why aren't you happy with it?
Because of what you just said earlier.
Well, tell me.
It's on the building.
It's on the building.
It can't be seen at night.
Yeah, okay.
It has a lot of information on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it like on the building, like I can't take it off?
No, I can take it off.
Oh, it's like a banner?
No, it's actually a sign.
Sign.
Hey, yeah, a wooden sign
Oh, okay. Okay.
over the
Like
door.
Sound like I'm gonna need to do some field trips. Pastor. I got a lot. I think I got, yeah, I need to get on a plane and do some field trips. Okay. Okay. What about you, Pastor Spencer? What about you? Are you happy with your signage?
I'm trying to be so much like Pastor Phil. I don't know if I'm happy.
Okay.
And I'm gonna say why. We have a letter church sign like on a wall that says Image Church that you can see it, but you can't see it at night. We do have a church sign, but it says like Image Event Center. So it's listing like you can do weddings and all that. So I feel like, yeah, I need to figure out what we're gonna do with that.
We can talk about that. Okay.
I'm trying to promote one thing, but then the church name is like back burner in a sense. So if you drive to our church, you might be like Image Event Center. Is this the church?
What is this?
I feel, yeah.
I'm confused. Okay.
That's Pastor Phil's fault.
Is that his fault?
Yes.
All right, that's his fault. Okay. We blame you, Pastor Phil. So okay, Pastor Joe, you said you're happy with yours.
Yes, because I don't have nothing to do with that. It's not my
He said, listen, it's not.
yeah, it's not my department. You have someone
Okay.
in the church that does that.
All
So,
right. Let me ask you this though, Pastor Joe. You said you lead the Latino ministry, which means there's a heavy Latino speaking population.
yes.
Would I know that you have that department based off your signage?
Yes, they would. 'Cause
You
it-
would.
It says it clearly there on the
Okay,
sign.
good. Okay. All right, so it's clear.
Yeah.
All right. Pastor Deborah, what do you think? I know you're at the same church, but how do you feel about the signage? Because you're with Pastor Spencer, right?
Just ditto with Pastor Spencer.
Okay, got you. You don't have to be afraid. I'll protect you. You're not
But I'm not afraid. I'm the mama.
gonna. Oh, he said, look, he afraid of me. I know that's right. Miss Perry, what do you tell me how you feel?
I do agree with Pastor Spencer because it does have the image event center. So one would think, question, is that an event center or a church? But so I do agree. And
Okay.
that not being the light where the one that's already on the wall is, there's no lighting.
Okay, so we need to, okay, so that's something we need to address and assess. So Pastor Spencer, Deborah, Ms. Perry, that's something we need to meet about and say, how can we, how can we think that out more? Okay, cool. So
You got Pastor Blackwood too.
oh yes, Pastor Blackwood. I'm sorry, sir. What about you, sir?
It's all right. I'm in between. Again, I'm trying to make sure you can hear me. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're in between because our sign was damaged by someone who guess they didn't like us or didn't like the sign.
Mhm.
And so we're now in between what we had and what we're going to do. And so we're using a banner. We're going to use a banner sign, and I'll incorporate some of the things that you're saying or you're suggesting and recommending to us once we do our banner sign, because we're going to change it probably within 6 to 9 months because we're going to do a name change also.
All right, so you got an opportunity then, Pastor.
Yes, yes, sir.
And we might need to think about making your signage maybe even mobile.
Yeah.
Say that I mean like movable. You know?
Yeah, okay. Mhm.
We might, since somebody is, the song said haters gonna hate. So we might need to think about, is this something that's I can move in and out? This type of, does it come down at certain, all this type of thing. Is there security, is there a camera tied to this? That type of thing. So that's
Okay.
something we might want to think out. Okay. Any questions before I move on to the next section? I know that was a large section. No? Okay. And if you do, just throw them in the chat and we'll address them towards the end. Okay, let's go to building maintenance, but I'm going to switch this out to how you go from a visitor to a member. I'm gonna do that. So is everybody okay? Am I going too fast, too slow? Okay. All right. So oftentimes people, they want people to come right in from visitors to members, same Sunday. Not realizing that, all that's well and good, but not realizing that there's a lot of components that go to this. And let me kind of give this preface. This is not the end all be all of the Bible to marketing, but this is just my recipe, if you would. And so there's several different steps. So, and it's actually one before visitors. You have, here's the first level. You have invitee. Invitee, they first are invited by a member or a partner, if that's the language you use. They first are invited. Second, after invited, they become a visitor. They become a visitor. If they showed up, they were a visitor. If they didn't, they remain an invitee. Once they come more than about 3 to 5 times, they consistently, they become, and they don't come on what I call the CME Sundays. Or CME Saint. Do y'all know what a CME Saint is? Christmas, Mother's Day. There you go. Y'all know what it is. So they're not a CME Saint. Then they now become an attender. They now become an attender. So you go from invitee to visitor to attender. Oftentimes churches just have strategy to get you from invitee to, and really from visitor to member. Because what do we say in the church? Do we have any visitors? We don't have, we have no strategy for invitees. Now we might get them to the little, visitors luncheon or whatever, but we have really no strategy. I'm gonna talk about that. And so you go from invitee to visitor to attender to member then. What does it mean to be a member of your church? That does not mean I just come every Sunday. That does not mean I just come every Wednesday. That means I am a faithful tither. My family is involved in this ministry. I am financially committed to the well-being of this ministry, my pastors, the staff, this community. I probably live in this community, maybe, or around community. I am really troubled when I hear that the pastors or the members don't live in the community. That's quite interesting. Because I mean, your church is sometimes a reflection of, your church is basically like a reflection of the community. So it's quite interesting that if your church membership has not bought into the community so much so that they will not buy a property there, they don't shop at the grocery stores, they don't go to the local post office, their kids don't go to the schools, then why in the world would we think they will come to our church? If I don't trust the school or the grocery store, why am I going to come to your church? So herein is a tool, Pastor Field knows this tool, a tool that I use called the 168 rule. This is how you get somebody from a invitee to a member. There's 168 hours in 1 week. Of those, we use, as churches, as houses of worship, we use probably about 2, 4, or 6, depending on how many services you have or events, this type of thing, right? If you have multiple services on a Sunday, or if you have a midweek, you would use anywhere from 2 to 6. Of those, Pastor Spencer, you have maybe about 164, 166 left, maybe. What are you doing, Pastor Parks, Pastor Joe? What are you doing to tell people about Jesus through your church with the remaining hours? What are you doing with the rest? Are you just doing just a Bible study? Because that ain't enough. Because we're not realizing that Sunday is the culmination of what we've done with that 168. That's not the starting line. That's the finish line. A lot of times people think, oh, Sunday, no, we're in a new week. You're at the end of a week as it pertains to the Christendom. This is corporate worship. We all coming together. I'm bringing all my problems. Okay, I'll give you some biblical context. Mary, you know the story, y'all preachers, you know the story about Mary. They said, well, she washed Jesus's feet. If I'm out of context, forgive me. So this might be some eisegesis or conjecture. Mary, she washed Jesus' feet with her hair. And so if you come in the middle of the text, you would think Mary she just came in with her tears. You would think that Mary just came in the room and started crying. But if you go back a little bit and do some history on the text, you will know that in that time, they carried what we call tear bottles. So when they cried, they would put all their tears in this bottle. It was a part of the culture. And so if their hearts were broken, they would put in broken-hearted tears. They were depressed, they would put in depressed tears. They were sad, they would put in tears of sadness. And so when Mary's tear bottle filled up, she found Jesus. And she poured all of her tears at his feet. And so Sunday, people are coming together from all the hell and high water they have been through, Monday through Saturday, and they are literally doing like Mary and pouring all their tears at the altar. If you have not done and used that 168, this may make you mad. You cannot expect Jesus to show up on a Sunday to make sure that those people have a savior to pour their tears down. And so we need to do our due diligence to make sure that things are in place. Small groups, Bible studies, church signage, social media accounts, websites. We need to make sure things are, prayer calls, whatever it is, whatever you do, make sure those things are in place during that 168 so they have something to come to, not just some announcements. And oftentimes people come to church, and I'm going to pause in a few minutes. Oftentimes people ask Miss Deborah, why don't the young folk come to church anymore? It's because when they come to church, all they hear is announcements and what we need from you, not what we gonna give you. And so they will say, man, the world gives us this, but all I hear about when I come to church is this bake sale, that, and this over here, the choir anniversary. I don't hear nothing about community outreach. I don't hear nothing about, shoe giveaway. I don't hear nothing about, or we're gonna be at the school this week praying for the teacher. I don't hear nothing about that. Now, y'all might not like me for this one. Here's that 168. Are you ready, Pastor Parks?
Yes.
People, I am so tired of book bag giveaways. People, listen, these kids don't get, no kid gets bullied because they don't have a book bag or a pencil, but they do get bullied because they don't have shoes or a jacket. What about a shoe giveaway? What about a jacket giveaway? What about clothes giveaway? Office Depot is throwing book bags out the door for free. Salvation Army, there's so many people giving away book bags. Then what happens to us if 20 churches are giving away book bags on the corner? We look the same. Switch it up. Luke 2:52. It said, and Jesus kept increasing in wisdom, stature, favor with God, and favor with man. So if Jesus is perfect in all his ways and he feels the need to keep increasing, who are we to not? I know we've been doing this book bag giveaway for 20 years. I know, but it's time to switch it up. All right. Any questions on that? Did I make anybody mad?
Not yet. Keep going.
You might not invite me back, Pastor. Okay. So let's go to social media. I had a pastor ask me, who's doing a website. He asked me, he said, well, can we do a photo gallery? And I'm gonna tell y'all, remind me, I got a story to tell you. He said, can we do a photo gallery? I said, sure, Pastor, we can. I said, but he said, because I want to be able to show the pictures of the events and things of that nature. I said, okay, yeah, I get it. I said, can I tell you what the new photo gallery is? He said, what's that? I said, social media. That's the new photo. Do y'all remember back in the day when the church websites had the photo galleries on them? Anybody remember that? So, say it again.
No.
You remember that, Pastor? Okay. Yeah, they had photo galleries. I'm not saying they're not relevant now, but the new photo gallery is social media. Pastor Spencer, Pastor Joe, first place somebody's going to go. They're going to go check out your Instagram, your Facebook. And then you have to know who's going to check out your Instagram and Facebook. Who are the, so the younger folks may, for example, I put a post up this week. I'm a girl dad, so I have a 7-year-old and I have a 16-year-old. And I put up a post because I wanted to get, just get some answers and responses. My 16-year-old daughter, I'm a foster parent, just for context. She says, it's embarrassing for me to pick her up in front of the school. And I said, and I'm like, why is that embarrassing? Like, I think I got a cool little car, you know, and you know, I'm not picking you up in the Pinto or the 1972 Deuce and a Quarter, you know, you know what I mean? I'm picking you up in the little Pathfinder, right? And so it's clean and all this. Anyway, my wife said, she said, babe, you didn't put that on Instagram. I said, well, I'm not talking to the kids. I'm talking to the parents. They're on Facebook. You see what I'm saying? And so I went to Facebook responses, like parents of teenagers. My point is, you got to know where your audience is. And so know where your audience is. And so watch this. As it pertains to social media, I'm gonna kind of sneak streaming in there. Streaming is only, I want you to hear me, it's only a mirror for what's going on in the room. If you are not ready to show what's going on in the room, get off of stream. Just to say we streaming live, get off and do it right. I'd rather you wait, bring somebody in to get you together than to be having somebody with their phone. Because watch this, somebody's gonna judge you. They're gonna look at your stream and say, I'm good. I'm not going to that church. The sound is bad. It's shaky. Are they filming on the Titanic? Like, what's happening? Look like it's going down. I can't hear Pastor Spencer. What did he say? What did Pastor Park say? What was the second point? Miss Deborah said something. I can't hear her. And it's going to be bad. And so they won't even make it in your church. They won't even make it to the church. That's what they talk about in private. Their stream, I'm gonna just say how I'm gonna say it, their stream sucks. And so if you feel like, hey man, we're not ready to show what's in the house yet. I'd rather you get the house right. Get the inside, get the in-person service tight before you want to put a mirror on it and show it in the World Wide Web. And be talking about online campus, because if you can't have the Bible available for them and a note section for them, and I'm going to send all these resources, Pastor Parks, so that you have notes. This is also being recorded. If you can't have all those tools for them, then you should just stay off until you can get it tight. And two, if you don't have a website connected to that, then, or if you're not regularly managing your social media accounts, if you still have things on there from 2020 and 2018, you're not ready for it. I told a lot of pastors, I told one pastor, I said, he asked me, they had a service, a launch service, and they have this board called the Behringer X32. It's a digital board, audio console. He said, Will, what do you think about this? What do you think about this board? You know, I said, he didn't like it, but I'm the person that tells pastors what their staff can't tell them. I'm that dude. So I said, take it back and get an analog board, because your media department don't deserve this yet, because your speakers suck. So I would get an analog board and good speakers, get your mix right, because you just got this Behringer X32 just to show off. You didn't get it to do right, because while you got this, it's like a dirty Bentley. It's like, what? Pastor Parks, tell me this. Have you ever seen a commercial for a Bentley? You ever seen a commercial for it? Don't need one, because they only market to a certain customer. Having an audio console and bad speakers is like having a dirty Bentley. Looks good on the inside, but on the outside it sucks. It's like, or a Rolls Royce. I think that's what I was saying. You don't see many Rolls Royce commercials, if any. They don't need to. And so that's why I said, make sure you have the house right. And I know our time is short. You need to have the house right first, and then get your team an analog board. Let them appreciate that. Then say, you know what, we're gonna add on this digital board. It's almost the same concept like when we went from the TV. I don't know if y'all grew up like me or my neighborhood, but when I grew up, I had the big TV. I had the little TV that was on top of the big TV that didn't work. Did we live in the same cul-de-sac? Okay. I just want to listen. It didn't work. And I had I was the remote. And I probably had some pliers on there, some bunny ears. And so that's what you basically doing, man. When you're doing that console, you putting a little TV on top of the big TV that don't work. I can metaphor that all day long. But then we go from that to the flat screen. It's like, nah, man. And it just doesn't match. So we would have this Behringer X32 and not have a website. Huh? I don't get that. Or we would have the Behringer X32 and then our social media don't be on point. What? That don't go together. Or we would have church programs and not have, wait a minute, or we church signage is whack, but we got the digital board. Wrong flow. Like all this stuff has to match. These are ingredients that get to a bigger thing. This is all a part of the 168. They go to a bigger thing. Don't have a bomb sound system and your social media account still got stuff from 2015 on it. Don't match. We can go over that more later. So I'm gonna stop there. And then the last thing, I'll go over a little bit of branding. And I know we got 2 minutes, but I'll be brief. And then I'll go over a little bit of SEO. And then we'll have about 10 minutes for questions. Branding. You want to be able to make sure branding, I generally do when I do things, I work with a lot of conferences. I do a lot of conferences. I do a lot of branding things. Right now, I'm doing a conference in April. Pastor Phil might be there. We're in what's called the Pacific Southwest Conference. We're part of the Covenant Evangelical Covenant Church. They're based in Chicago, but of course we have different conferences. So, like in Pentecostal Church of Christ, you have districts and jurisdictions and stuff, but we have conferences, and so we span over California, Arizona, Hawaii. I can't remember the other one right now, but anyway, we come together for our annual meeting. This year it's in a little city called San Juan Capistrano, California. It's in towards Southern California. And so I'm doing all of the branding and the marketing for that. So which includes web, which includes signage when you walk up, which includes the marketing piece, registration, the service experience, all of that stuff. So all of this is part of that 168. And so I'm in charge of making sure all of the branding is on point. That when Pastor Joe goes to this PSWC events.org, y'all can check it out when you get it, if you get an opportunity. It's called PSWC events.org. That's the website that we're doing for the conference that we created. And so that it's my responsibility to make sure that branding is on point, that registration is easy. I told our director of conference ministries, I said, registration should be as easy as somebody ordering a package on Amazon. That's how easy it should be. Right now, you can go on your phone right now while I'm talking and have something to your door probably tomorrow if you got Prime. Because it's easy. You can just swipe the little yellow line. It's that easy. And so that's how that should be. So as far as branding is concerned, I think logos are important. So let's check our logos, our websites, maybe our church kind of colors. If you're still in the purple and the maroons and the golds, you might be a little behind. If you're still in that, we still got the red carpet and the padded pew. I'm not saying, everybody got to be the motorcycle, leather jacket, skinny jean church. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to put you in skinny jeans, Pastor Parks. I'm just saying, or Pastor Joe, I'm not trying to put you in the leather jacket on the Harley. I'm just saying, so here's what I'm saying about branding. if Miss Deborah, if I walk in your house and I don't see bell bottoms and platform shoes and Soul Glow, if I don't see that in there, if I see flat screens and Alexa and self, if I see that stuff and touch screen this, then, and I'm not pointing right at you, Pastor Deborah, I'm saying if we thought enough of ourselves to upgrade ourselves, why can't the church be on board?
Mm.
Why does the church still have to be back in the 90s? We got to think enough of the church. And so let's make sure all those things are on point. Logos, websites, social media accounts, our church colors, church names, our signage, if we have merchandise for our church, our events, the event flow, we can talk more about that. And so if you have like church conferences or different things that go on, I can help you with those types of things. So things kind of, you want them to flow. I told a pastor I did a conference last month in Seattle. It's called the Faith and Race Conference for a church here called the Radiant Covenant Church. And I'll be honest with you. He don't mind me telling pastor there, a good friend of mine. He fought me a little bit on the conference website. I said, Pastor, we should do a separate website for the conference and not put it in your church website. Not because I'm trying to get some extra money. I said, as a matter of fact, just to prove it to you, I'll just add it in your package. You ain't got to pay me now for it. I'll pay you because I'm trying to show you a principle. So much so that he said, man, and I wasn't trying to be right. He came, but he said, man, you were right. He said, because it was just the flow. Because if I go, and I really didn't like his church website, but I really did. But, and I told him that, but it was going to be easy. Nobody wants to fight through your website to see, okay, now where do I sign up? And then you're going to get them all, oh, look at what you got going on there, the children's ministry. Go right to registration. You're going to mess them up like that. So we can work with that piece. Okay, now let's go to quickly, and I'm way over time, search engine. I'll just kind of explain this. There's a thing called search engine optimization, or SEO, where when people go and Google you, that's the technology behind it. And so what happens is, what I do for people, like when we do websites, I look up all of the trending keywords that are trending for that week as it pertains to like faith-based stuff, or even sometimes things that are going on in the world. If there's a war in Ukraine right now, there is, different things happening in Syria. There's so much stuff happening, earthquakes and other stuff. You look up all the different keywords that are trending, and you will go in the back door and you will put that stuff into your search engine optimization windows, so that when people look up things like church near me, or churches that support Ukraine refugees, Pastor Joe's church pops up, or Image Church pops up. Oh, because Image Church has a food pantry for refugees, or they're connected to a, so-and-so. You see what I'm saying? This type of thing. Or, oh man, Pastor Parker's church has this going on. I didn't know that. Those things pop up. It takes a little while because everybody's doing it, but it takes a second. It's almost like if there was an event center on the same street as you. So that's a little bit about that SEO piece. So listen, I want to say this last 5. Go ahead, Pastor.
Question. So I know through GoDaddy I could see that, but how can another church, the SEO, how could they get that?
So the easiest thing is to make sure, well, one of the things is to make sure that you have your Google ad up. You can do that through like your email. So like if I look up Image Church, there should be like Google, like right now, if I look up On-Ramps Covenant, it'll come up on that right side. You look up, it's like when you go look up a restaurant and their little ad that comes up, it's like Google ads that comes up and say, oh, so-and-so restaurant, this is their number, this is their site, this is the directions. We want to make sure that we have that. I will, Pastor Spencer and I will get together and put these resources together. So you guys will have kind of.
You're right, because I still haven't claimed our ad or our name on Google.
Yeah. And it'll ask you like, is this your church?
They'll call.
You want to change the number? Is this the right website? Are these the right? Because sometimes we'll have pictures, from way back. And it's like, man, that church don't look like that no more. Or it's a new Pastor Joe is the pastor. It's not even the same pastor. You know, this the original, you know, that type of thing. Or Pastor Parks is the pastor now. And then the last thing I want to mention is this, and let's go into is this. Pastors, I gotta yell this. I don't want to yell it too loud. Headshots. Make sure you go get a photo shoot. Not a selfie. Go get a photo shoot. It's too many for even if you have to, and I'm kind of going against my own, even if you got to get an iPhone, y'all, and ask your teenager or somebody to take a couple pictures of me. I'm gonna change that. Go get a photo shoot. Because if you call me to do a graphic, I'm gonna say, what is this? Let's go do fun. Because what happens is this, y'all. We want to do the graphic to promote our church. And the people on social media are looking at it like, they can't even take a decent picture. How they gonna get me saved? Like, what the heck? You know what I mean? We like, no, let's go like a not JCPenney, not Ole Mills. Go listen. Who had the picture in the wine glass? Who had the picture? Nobody had the Ole Mills picture. Okay, cool. All right, don't tell them. So, but y'all, I know y'all remember Ole Mills. Yes, go get a photo shoot. Get a photographer. Even if we got to get one photographer and everybody get in where they fit in. Don't cut your shoulders off. Don't cut your hip. I get a full body, even if it's 1 or 2 outfits. Get a photo shoot. Pastors, make sure your staff has a photo. Do a staff photo shoot day. Pastor Spencer, get your whole staff. Pastor Phil is working on his. Get your whole staff. And here's the easiest way to do it. Make sure, is there a photographer in the house? Do we have a member that's a photographer? Make sure they good, not just committed. I'm gonna say this last thing, because I got a bunch of, I could do 2 more hours with this, but I'm not. I want to give you your time. Just because this might sting a little bit, just because they come a lot, that don't mean they a leader. That just mean they committed. Stop making people that come all the time leaders. Make sure they get trained and they on point and their mental health is tight, but not just because they tithe and they there every Wednesday. They might not be a leader. They might not want to be a leader. They may not want to be a leader. You got to check, make sure that mental health is on point. I'm not saying people got to be perfect. No, none of us are. But make sure, hey, they might not want to be a leader right now. They might want to be led. I can't. And so we'll wonder why stuff is dropping off, because they may not have it in them right now to go. They like, I'm trying to get myself together. I can't leave the cooking ministry. I can't leave the kitchen ministry. I barely can buy groceries. You want me to leave the kitchen ministry? So that's, but I want to open it up for questions. I had one more piece I want to share, but I could save that for the end. But I want to open it up for any Q&A. Pastor Parks.
Have you written a book?
No, sir.
Too bad.
I guess that's one sale.
And I recommend other people buy it too.
Man, I appreciate it, Pastor Parks. Thank you. That's kind of you, sir.
No, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say to all of you, I mean, Will, thank you for tonight. Great content. You know, you were constrained by time, and so I know you had to sort of cover a lot of ground quickly. I just want to say to my colleagues on this Zoom call tonight, we use Will. We are contracted with Will monthly. Will is doing a number of things for on-ramps, and many of those things are in process, but some of those things have already been put in place. We have the benefit of kind of asking Will questions on a regular basis and picking his brain. And one of the things that Will does for us, he does all of our flyers for on-ramps every single month. He prepares all of the sermon slides for us. And I'll tell you, we have not been his best customer. I mean, we are not the easiest to work with. We've made mistakes. We've turned things in late. And Will is just absolutely fantastic to work with. He is so good. He is so fast. And he's working on our website right now as well. And so our website is currently not up because Will is building it. But anyway, he is reasonable. He is outstanding to work with. And I just couldn't say enough about what an investment it has been. It felt hard for us to make the investment because we want to invest in other things. But it has been one of the best investments we've made this year. So I just wanted to just say that to all of you, and thank you, Will. And for those of you that maybe want to talk about what Will can offer your church, I'd encourage you to reach out to him later.
Thank you, Pastor Phil. That's generous, sir. Pastor Spencer, I want to give one more tidbit. I promise I.
Yes, come on,
Okay.
sir.
Is that okay? Is everybody
Yeah,
ready to
yes,
go?
sir.
Yeah.
Are y'all tired of me? Okay. All right. This quick little piece on volunteers, because this is going to help you not be frustrated, Pastor Parks, Pastor Deborah, Pastor Phil. All the pastors, this is going to help you not be frustrated on a Sunday. And I know y'all are ready to get to a bed because you preach your heads off this Sunday. So I'm surprised most pastors are under the bed on a Sunday. So,
Nap already.
are you, amen, Pastor Parks?
I took a nap already.
So here's your,
I got up from my nap for this.
say it again, sir.
I
Oh,
got up from my nap for this.
Yeah, to the no, okay. I knew it. Listen, I knew it was on the way. All right. So listen, here's your volunteer model. Okay. Because a lot of times, Ms. Deborah, people will want to make all volunteers full time. And I feel like that's an interesting concept. When the marketplace, Pastor Phil, they break them up into 3 categories. They break them up into, I think Pastor Parks having some interruption.
I'll just stop the video.
Okay. But you can, if you want to come, okay, I want to make sure you can still hear. The marketplace breaks them up into 3 categories. They break them up into full-time, part-time, and seasonal. Say it again. They break them up into full-time, part-time, and seasonal. But for whatever reason, the church wants to make everybody full-time.
Mm.
And then we get frustrated when they don't show up. I had a pastor tell me, he's in Seattle. He said, my media team, he saw I was out here. He said, my media team, watch this, y'all, don't fall off the chair. He said, they show up when they feel like it. I said, what? They do what? When they feel like it. I said, oh, good. I said, just got depressed. I said, oh my goodness. I said, that ain't your media team. Now, what I didn't tell him was, that's your fault.
Mhm.
Because I didn't want to offend them. I said, because if you have not given them the leadership, you haven't motivated them enough for them to show up.
Mm.
The leader does not get to say, you didn't do this. The volunteer does. You didn't show me. Did you show me? Did you give me an example? Did you inspire me? It's like the parent going to the kid saying, hey man, listen, I'm a little short on the mortgage this month. He gonna be like, what? You pay? Hey, I need some help on them groceries this week. Wait, what? You know what I mean? So here's the model, guys, and I'm done. You want to have full-time volunteers. What does full-time mean? They're full-time. They're there on Sunday, Wednesday, events. They there. They're tithers. Come on, somebody.
Mhm.
They're tithers. They're fully committed and invested in that. Okay, but even don't wear that person out. Give them a break. You have your part-time volunteers. They're there Sunday or midweek or small groups or however your midweek model is. They're there either or. Then you have your seasonal people that they just do events. And so if I have a shoe giveaway, then they just gonna set up the tables. They're gonna do security. Can you be over Can you park the car? That's all they can do because they work on a Sunday or they do this or they got that going. Now they faithful, but this is all I can do. I'd rather have 4 quarters, Miss Deborah, than 100 pennies.
Hmm.
I'm gonna say it again. I'd rather have 4 quarters than 100 pennies.
Mm,
I'd rather have 4 good folks
mhm.
because oftentimes if there are a lot of churches that you're like, man, this church is thriving because they don't need 5,000 members to be able to show up. They got 500 that give like 5,000
Mm,
and they're committed and they on point and it is. So break your volunteers down into that. And that helps when you do the volunteer forum. You want to have a volunteer training tied to that. You want to have a volunteer coordinator because oftentimes we do this. We want to be, which is somebody that's over all the volunteers. Here it is. This is what I'm talking about the leader. Because just because I'm a ministry leader does not mean I'm a good leader. I was a media director for 11 years, and I noticed I was just a good technical leader. I wasn't a good spiritual leader.
Mm.
And so I could lead them technically, HDMI to this. No, put that screen over there. But when they called me and said, man, my mom died, I couldn't. Alexa, what scriptures about death? I couldn't help. And that's the secret sauce in our business is like folks go through stuff. And so just to recap, 3 tiers of volunteers, full-time, part-time, seasonal, have a volunteer coordinator so that when somebody wants to volunteer, they go see Pastor Joe. Pastor Joe is over all the, go ahead, Pastor Spencer.
Part-time. Say a little bit more about the part-time.
Part-time visitor, they're either Sunday or midweek.
Or, okay.
One that's either they're there serving on a Sunday or they're there serving on a midweek or they serve in a small group. Or maybe that's the person, that's the volunteer. They got one thing they do. And don't tell them, ask them. Hey, do you feel like you have the capacity to do blah, 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 blah? And a lot of times in the church circuit, we're voluntold. Or people get mad at us because we say no. And they say, you're not committed to the ministry. I am. I just got a lot going on. And yes, we're training a body of believers, but so full-time, part-time, seasonal, have a volunteer coordinator, have a training. Don't send them to the ministry leader. Send them to the coordinator. So I got 30 people that want to volunteer on a Sunday. I'm having a volunteer training that the coordinator is putting on. They're introducing all the ministry leaders. And then I'm assigning. So if Sister Brown says, I want to do media, I'm going to put her in a training. I'm going to have Will come in and say, hey, do the media training. And then I'm going to send them to you. All right, here's how I know I'm on point. When you have a new job, right? Before you get to your departmental training, what do you have? An orientation to tell you about the whole company. So that you get, here's what that does, pastors, you ready? Here's what this volunteer orientation does. It creates culture. A lot of our churches are lacking culture. They don't, so what, because we just throw them over here. Go pan out the programs. You got to take them through the process. And so oftentimes, Pastor Spencer, people, they have problems because their process is wrong or antiquated. I told a pastor, I said, Pastor, her name is Pastor Tammy. She pastors a church in Fresno. And I said, she called me on a Sunday and I'm done. She called me on a Sunday. I think I told you the story, Pastor Pence. She called me on a Sunday and she was saying that they didn't really transition well with the pandemic as far as the media is concerned. She called me on a Sunday. She said, I'm just frustrated. And I know, well, she actually called my wife and then she called me. I know when a pastor calls me on a Sunday, they're frustrated. They are pissed. She said, I can't take this no more. I can't. I need help. She said, I didn't expect you to call me on a Sunday. I said, well, man, it's an emergency. You called me on Sunday. You're supposed to be taking a nap. And she said, well, you got a point. I said, I went out there that Wednesday I saw all her stuff, and I said, Pastor, I can fix your problem right now.
Mm.
But that's not going to fix your process.
Mm.
That's why you got problems.
Hmm.
Because you keep adding, I'll give you an example. She bought all this equipment, let's say in the year 2000. Class. How old would that equipment be now?
Mm.
23 years old.
Mm.
But I thought it was the bomb in 2000. So what's happened is I said, here's the prescription, if you will, or the diagnosis. Your technology is dying.
Mm.
That's what's happening. And you keep adding stuff on top of it. You keep so you bought this in 2000, but you want to mix it with 2015, or 2009, or 2021. All I did, she was getting ready to buy a $4,500 switcher, Pastor Joe. I said, no. Let's go get this Atom Mini Pro that's industry standard that costs you $1,400. And let's go get you a new Mac. I think it costed maybe about $2,300. Only 2 pieces of equipment that fixed all her. I didn't have to switch out a screen. And so much so that when we went through here it is, process, her computer that she had up, Miss Deborah, died. It crashed. I said, I know you, listen, I ain't got that much power. I don't got power like Pastor Phil. I said, but my point exactly. It died. I called her a couple weeks and I said, Pastor Tammy, how's everything going? She said, minus maybe 1 or 2 Sundays, we had a couple little technical snafu's. She said, but flawless. I said, Pastor Tammy, it's because we fixed your process, not your problem. I'm done. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Pastor Spencer. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it so much for this opportunity. I don't take it for granted when people are nice to you. Just because people are nice, that does not mean they have to be nice to you. So thank you, Pastor Phil, for being so nice, and Pastor Joe, Miss Deborah, Pastor Jason, Pastor Parks. I didn't get the other pastor's name of the community.
Blackwood.
Pastor, thank you, sir. Melissa, thank you, Pastor Joe. Thank you,
Any
everybody.
questions?
Any questions? Anybody got any questions? I love to address. I want to respect your time, but I love to answer any question.
You gave me a lot of homework. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
Good homework.
Lot to think about. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
That's
Thank
good.
you very much. Thank you very much.
It's my
Going
pleasure.
back to Pastor Phil's point, just to give us an update, thank you guys for coming on. And maybe we could work on the date, but I was talking to Brother Will. One of the goals is to see about maybe some type of retainer we can, that he can do this periodically with pastors every 3 months or something like that. So it's something we're going to try to work out, see what that would look like. So this is why we have Vision 22. I don't know about you, but Pastor Phil, I needed this tonight, me personally, our church. And it also confirmed this shift I wanted to do in our leadership team, but getting the right people on the team.
Mhm.
So some of the things you said, Brother Will, really, really helped me. And I think through some things.
Pastor Jason, one of the things we could talk about is is there a way that I don't know what this would mean for Will, but figure out, a small number of churches that are, really kind of wanting to lean in and invest right now in, their media, and come up with an appropriate scope that Will would agree to, and see if we could, split the cost of Will's services as long as we kept, the scope within reason. And it made sense for him, and there was value for the churches. Maybe there's a way we could procure Will's services together as a group in some way. I hadn't thought about that till right now, but maybe it's a conversation we can have.
We will. Brother Joe,
All right.
we'll do that, Pastor Joe.
Yeah. I like the sound of that.
Come back around.
And let me share this last piece. Why this is I'm humbled by that, Pastor Phil. Thank you so much, sir. Here's the last piece why sometimes that works. Here's this acronym. You can write this down, and I promise I'm done. Y'all know I have preacher in me because I close this message like 20 times. So I'm starting like this the third close, and I'm getting ready to go. Come on, musicians. Here's my acronym for system. You ready? You can write it down if you want to. For system. When you have a system, it saves you stress, time, energy, and money. When you don't have a system, you have a lot of stress. You waste a lot of time, very little energy, and you put your money in the wrong places. And so when you do have a system, you save a lot of stress, time, energy, and money.
Will you please give us the acronym again? System Y is what?
System Y is you,
Okay.
saving you,
Mhm.
stress, time, I'm gonna put it in the chat, energy, and money.
All right. Got that.
Saving,
Thanks. Thank you.
stress, time, energy, and money. That goes right along with the story that I just told. I told you I was gonna tell y'all the story at the end.
Thank you.
With the story, I saved Pastor Tammy a lot of stress, time, energy, and money that had accumulated over 23 years. That in 3 months, we fixed 23 years
Wow.
because of a system.
Right.
It's good. Yes, sir.
Even Jesus put the books of the Bible in a system.
Mm.
He put the days of the week in a system. He put time. Like Jesus didn't make time for him. He made it for us so that everything wouldn't happen at once. Somebody said, Pastor Parks, Jesus gave us a forehead so that people wouldn't see what we were thinking. He put a system on. No, so yes, systems are important in churches, and we can talk more about it.
Pastor Joe, you got anything you want to add or?
No, I think coming from a big church like the Well, just how we brand ourselves, and as I hear my brother Will, a lot of the things that he talked about, and we use at the Well, right? And I'm not trying to say you should do it like we do it at the Well, but just so you know that what Will is saying, it works, because some of the things that we are doing at the Well, it's as easily as accessible as our website is, and even talking about everyone on our staff, is the pictures are there, and just as you were talking, I was thinking about the things that we do at the Well, right? We're like, okay, well, that's exactly what he's saying. So I think he has some good stuff there, good roadmap to help us grow as each individual ministry, right? And again, thank you, Will, for your knowledge. We hope that we can work together in the future.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Pastor Joe.
Thank you so much. Pastor Phil, will you pray for us?
Yep, gladly.
Thank you so much.
Gladly. Father, thank you so much for this night. And God, thank you for the ways in which these pastors are leaning in, who are continuing to learn, expand their tool belts, and often having to do it so often on their own. So, Father, I pray for a couple of things tonight. I pray, one, that you will preserve and sustain my sisters and brothers, that you will bless them, Father, that as they rest tonight and as the week comes, that the hours that they committed tonight to this topic, Father, you would allow them to reclaim them this week with additional margin they did not expect. I pray also, God, that the things that we've begun to think about tonight, we would have the capacity, the strategy, the resource to implement. And that, God, if there are ways that we can do this together, that, Father, you would reveal those to us all, that we can be better members of the same body, united together under one common mission and under your leadership, Jesus. So, Father, would you bless us tonight? Thank you so much for Will and Danny. Bless their family tonight as he's in Tacoma. We are so thankful for this opportunity and for the ways in which we know you intend to use our churches, these churches that you have established, these churches that you have a plan and a purpose for. God, to bear witness to the goodness of your love, greatness of your kingdom,
Yes.
and that, God, our communities would be better because we are there. We thank you in Jesus' name. We pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you,
One
Pastor
question.
Jason, Pastor
Go ahead,
Phil,
Pastor.
Pastor Phil, Pastor Jason. Thank you for bringing this to us. And I was going to call Pastor Will, but it's I don't know if I should call him that. But thank you, man of God, for your consulting, your advice, and information you shared. Bless you all.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Pastor Parks,
How can I access this recording?
I can send it to you.
Let's stop it. Let's stop it though.
Oh, yes.
Please do. Thank you so much, Brother Will.